So what does
awkward
Tyler
silence.
Shepardson future look like? We want to know
For what? My future in what?
for GNCC, for filming national enduros, raw highlights. Like what's going on? We're doing the podcast every single week. You got sponsors you got to promote. You got all this stuff. The people want to know. The people need some quality drive podcast.
So we are doing consistent shows. We're doing them weekly. I feel like they've been going well, trying to up the production value, as you can see. No national enduros for me as of now. I announced the Mid East series, and so there's only so many weekends in a year, so I'm still over there. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm surprised you don't film the Mid East.
I announce them, so
Yeah, I guess.
I do their social media, but yeah, from the announcing standpoint, it keeps me pretty busy and pays decent. So, actually, a month from yesterday, or April 4th, will be 3 years since I quit my day job. So, I had a pretty good job, pretty good career, and
So you went from a job where everyone hated you. Then you went to the podcast journalist route where a lot of people are going to hate on you as well.
yeah, pretty much.
So for people that don't know, you're an OSHA
Yeah, tough crowd, safety guy.
officer. What would they call you? OSHA. I mean, I know what they would call you in the field, but I'm not allowed to say it on this podcast.
I was a cool safety guy. All right, I was the safety director for a telecom company, so we did a lot of high profile stuff. And I told them when they hired me, it's like there's gonna be a point where your safety guy comes into work with a cast on, so just be prepared. But
That
yeah,
happened.
not a very well liked position for sure. And now
So
this
then
is like
you,
that too, but just more public.
hey, listen. I mean that uh, obviously you got more avenues of income as far as like your announcing and stuff like that. But like, I think people would be a little shocked on how much you can actually make on social media.
Yeah,
I think they would be very shocked. I mean, my stuff is pretty small. Like I haven't had anything going crazy. Um, Everything's pretty consistent, and but like it's a decent monthly check. And then I mean, obviously I'm an adult. I got bills, but if you can make money doing that, and then you can cover some of your hobbies, like you know, I can write off my phones and stuff like that because I use them for YouTube filming, and then I just basically use the YouTube money to pay for my phone bill and pay for other stuff. So
yep.
it's cool.
No, yeah, I mean that's exactly right. Like Yamaha coming on board this year was a big deal. Kind of adds more validity to what we're doing as well, and um, the social media stuff was helped me get a lot farther ahead. But like you said too, like it's there's substantial to make money to make on social media, and then Mid East, and then I have a large bit of investments. So that also helps out a lot too. But yeah, doing everything I can to run from a 9 to 5.
Aren't we all? You should run your own business. You'll work more than 9 to 5. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I had a screen printing company and sold it. I was over it.
We could tell.
Yeah.
We could all tell.
But even doing all this stuff, man, I mean it's a lot, but like I said, there's a lot worse ways to make a living. So, and like I said, at the end of the day, dude, I do this cuz I'm such a fan of the sport. Like I love being at the races. Yeah, in this position, in this role, it's easy to get put down at times. It's easy to get down on myself at times. It's easy to want to kind of hide in a corner and not do anything. But then the moment we're at a race and everything starts and I'm just riding my Yamaha around the woods and filming it, it all comes back
In
and like
in the zone. You're in the zone.
not only that, dude, I love being there. I love watching. I love it's turned into a job at this point. Like, hey, I gotta get the video out as quick as I can. I gotta get good shots. I gotta scout the track, know my locations. Like that part of it still adds stress. Like Mondays after GNCCs, like sorting through all the stuff to distribute for the Red Bear team, and um, managing social medias and having to make posts. Like it definitely turns into a job. But it's like I said, I think the thing that keeps me coming back is like the support of the people that do support the show and what we're doing and kind of recognize it. Versus the people that somehow I'm always the villain, no matter how much I'm trying to help somebody. But then also, like I said, dude, just the storylines, like Caleb coming back, like the Johnny getting out and winning after DNF in the first race, like seeing you get close to a podium at Florida, like anytime like that kind of stuff happens, it just reminds me like why I went head first into all this stuff to begin with. Um, so yeah, like I said, there's been plenty of times where I've been wanting to shut shop on OTP and move on with life, but it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in it because we love it, and no matter, I mean, at the end of the day, like it's hard not to get emotional, but we're all there. We, it's all it's there. We're having fun, but it's really like in our position, it's all business, and so you cannot think emotionally about business decisions, and you just got to do what's right for you, whether it's taking sponsorship deals or like yeah, I mean, I hire Mac to take my photos, and I hire Carson to do my my videos for the vlog and stuff during the race. But like I used to have Kyle doing it, and fired Kyle, in a nice way, obviously, and like we're still friends. And same thing with you. Like I could go through you for my footage or whatever, but like it's all just a business, and it's good to be part of the sport, and it'd be cool to kind of take what I'm doing and run with it and try to make it big because I mean, like when Caleb was doing it, obviously it's hard to beat Caleb when he wants to do something, he'll do it big. Like his big bug vlog freaking has more views than any of my vlogs will get. But that's just because he's Caleb, right? He's Everyone wants to know what he's doing, everyone wants to be behind the scenes. But like if I can be that relatable person to people, um in video and stuff, and help fund me getting to the races and stuff, like that's what I'm gonna do. And it's pretty cool. I like meeting everybody that comes up, and I love watching the videos and stuff like that. When they say that kind of stuff, it's pretty cool. And same thing. I mean, obviously, I don't think you get the self gratification because the videos aren't tailored towards you, but still people will like tune into your stuff because they like the way you do it, and vice versa. So I think we can all relate in that kind of sense where Matt gets his photos into a Racer X or whatever, it's really cool for him. Same thing with you, right? So
Yeah.
we're all just everyone. I mean, I'm a little bit of both, right? I'm like a pro rider, but I'm also part of the media. So we're all kind of like I kind of bounce around. It's kind
Yeah.
of
No, and like I said, dude, you are doing the right thing by building your brand and doing that stuff and being consistent with it. And I think that shows with how it's growing and all that. But yeah, I mean, I said before, like, dude, if I hit the lottery, I'll still be at GNCCs. Um, j-
wow.
just because like that, I don't know if I'll be doing it to this scale. I'd probably be there racing. I wouldn't be there having to film to because that's kind of when my racing career ended, dude. When I had to move up to the 3 hour race, it's like, dude, I'm making more of an impact taking pictures than I would racing any race. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
like if I hit the lottery, I'd probably be falling around the GNCC. I definitely wouldn't be sleeping in my car. I'd have a big old rig, but I'd be there. And it's just because, like I said, dude, I like the friendships I've developed, like with you and everyone else out there, and just fan of the sport,
That's what it's about.
trying to make an
Hey,
impact.
you think I could get a media bid,
Probably,
media credential?
maybe.
I thought about asking, but I'm like, I'll just do my rider bit. I'll just do my rider credential, and I don't want to get into that mess because I don't want to be underneath your guys' rules. Because really, I'm just media for myself in a way. So I don't want to be like, I don't need to be going to your guys' meetings and stuff.
We only have one. Maybe I can get you on as a contributor to OTP.
Quad version.
Yeah, thought
Quad
about it.
videos, hey, quad videos get a lot of views.
Thought about it, but man, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so this got separated into YouTube videos. If you're listening to this after the fact, obviously it's all together in one. Um, Not really sure how that happened, why that happened, but we'll get it sorted.
No questions, huh, on the YouTube, or it timed out or something?
Well, it started freezing. I was getting a couple warnings. That's why I kept looking over here trying to figure out what was going on. But it's hard to listen what's going on and try to read what's going on the computer. And then somehow it crashed. So the whole YouTube chat went away. I started a new one, which same thing. It started out of the same stream. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to the first one or what happens to the second one or if they're both out there. But I guess we'll figure that out.
Yeah, it's all good.
But anyway, man, can't thank you enough for your time for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And yeah, good luck this weekend and good luck the rest of the season. And don't be a stranger, man. Anytime you want to come on, hit me up.
Well, we'll have to leave it up to the fans. Maybe I rambled on too much. Listen, if I get stopped and I get chewed out by any pro riders, never come back on this podcast
Oh,
again.
they're gonna be swinging. No, and I appreciate you stepping in and doing the weekend review. I know that for exactly what you just said, it kind of puts you in a tough spot when we're breaking down everything that happened. So I do appreciate you doing that. Now that I got this Skype thing figured out, the plan is to get back to doing the original OTP Tuesdays and having 2 or 3 guests on a week and having them on FaceTime. So next time I won't
Yeah, man.
task you with talking junk about everybody else. We'll just talk about how your
No,
weekend went.
no. You gotta do like a JA segment or something. We gotta come up with something clever, man. We gotta.
Yeah, you
I
got
want
to
to
earn your
contribute a little
credential.
bit, you know. Exactly, exactly. No, no, that's good. Probably rambled on way too much. I tend to do that, but when I'm passionate about something, I'm a fairly quiet person, but like when I'm passionate about something or I like something or I enjoy something, I'll talk your ear off. Like, you
Yeah,
can ask anybody. I'm sure I get like if I go golfing with Caleb, I probably never shut up.
yeah,
One, because I like golfing, and two, because I'm like I want to talk to Caleb and pick his brain about every single thing
yeah.
that I can think of. So like I'm just that type of person where like I'm just yeah, when I'm invested, I'm in it, man. I'm like it's like what do they call it, ADHD or something?
Yeah. No, I have that like the textbook definition. But golfing
So
with Caleb is a good way to break down barriers.
yeah, man, especially if he's playing good.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not playing good, not much talking.
Yeah.
No. No, we need to get back on the links. I've been kind of off that. I've been kind of away from that whole scene. I remember I mean, even I'm rambling on now, but I remember going to Sprinteros, getting done with the last test, and rather than cycling it again just to like cool down or whatever, we'd load straight up and go to a golf course.
Yeah.
Like, let's go golf, burn the whole night up, go
Plus
race the next day.
I was talking to a couple other people too about it. Golf has been my new obsession the last year and a half, 2 years. So that's what I was thinking about, like going to GNCCs, like playing a local course on Fridays because there's not a lot going on Fridays anyway. But trying to find that way you
Yeah,
play new
yeah.
courses and
I
get up
used
there
to do
Friday.
that when I used to do that. It was really fun. 2019, I kind of had a little bit more free time, a little bit more loose financially. I got a little bit more freedom, and yeah, it was really fun. You should definitely do that. If you need some good recommendation courses, I got you.
Got it.
I don't know if I can join, but I definitely have some of the good spots.
Maybe some rounds you can.
Snowshoe. That's all
Yeah.
I'm good for anymore.
Yeah. No, that's fun too. But all right, man. Really appreciate your time, and we'll see you this weekend. Like I said, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. We'll
All right.
catch you at Talladega.
Sounds
Ready to
good,
go
man.
fast.
See ya.
See ya.
All right, so that was Jesse Ansley. Appreciate his time coming on. We do have one more thing for you. I know this. Has been a kind of a long show, but one of the things that I do want to get to, something that is important to me and what we're doing. Kind of posted some stuff on the stories about it and alluded to it a couple weeks ago. Working on a project this year with Jody Lynch. Jody Lynch is a Marine Corps colonel. He retired in 06 in 2022. He has a very long storied history with the Marine Corps. It's actually quite an amazing career that he was able to put together in the Marine Corps. And in that, he actually was head of special forces in Iraq and Syria and led a Marine Raider battalion. And I don't want to get into saying all the things wrong because there's a lot that went into it. He was actually the oldest person selected from MARSOC school. So a lot of really cool things that he has done. But now he has started a initiative that he's doing called Racing for Legends, where he is going to race in honor this year of fallen Marines or fallen soldiers. A lot of them are people that he either served with or he led in combat missions. So this weekend was his first weekend doing it down in Florida. And Josh Strang, obviously a friend of the program and a big-time supporter of the military forces, he gives a helmet or a prize away to the warrior class winners each year and has a lot of buddies, including Jody. Jody's a good friend, and we actually all kind of met through the same kind of parallels. But Josh is very passionate about the military, and so I asked him to step in and actually interview Jody for us to be involved in this Racing for Legends initiative. So we're going to cut to an interview with Jody Lynch and Josh Strang, and this is my first time doing something like this, so we're hoping it works. Cross your fingers.
Hey, I'm Josh Strang here today in Florida, GNCC second round of the year, and today I'm the interviewer, so I'd like to introduce Jody. Jody, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Jody Lynch. First and foremost, I just want to say big thanks to both Tyler for doing this and to Josh. We've built a relationship over the last couple of years. You know, I did a lot on the backside for the full gas enduro when Josh Koscheck owned it, and I got to know Strang a bit and got to know his dedication and some of the events that he's running for vets. Because that's my background, and so that's where the connection comes from. A lot that he's done for the warrior class and the helmet designs, and just amazing. And so that really kind of connected us. And so my background is I enlisted in the Marine Corps, I think, before Tyler was born in 1991, and then served in the reserves while I was in college for the Marine Corps, and then got commissioned as an officer in 1995. And just retired in December of 2022. So I had the chance to run about a 31-year career, including my reserve time. And over those years, I spent the last 15 at the Marine Special Operations Command, and just an absolutely honor to serve our country and do great things. But that's what brought me here. And then, as just like most guys and girls that ride dirt bikes, they're introduced to it by their parents, and my dad introduced it to me at a young age. I was away from it for forever. I think I stopped riding when I was about 12 years old, and then my life took off, and I did all the things I did, and then we just as I got older and I was getting closer to retirement, I decided to go buy a dirt bike and try to learn how to dirt bike again. So it's been a heck of a run. But that's yeah.
Yeah. So, like you said, where I met you was just through mutual friends. I'm good friends with OB, and yeah. I know you're Marines, he's Army, but like all you guys have the same kind of goal mindset, and I feel like I'm drawn to not so much the military way of life, just how you guys come across in everyday life. It's like you have a goal, or you have a thing you want to do, and you want to do it. And another thing that I've admired about whether it's active guys like you, active guys or retired guys, it's if I can give advice, it's like all of you guys listen to. If I told you to jump off the truck here, because it'll make you a better dirt bike rider, you'd be like, oh yeah, give me a ladder, I'll go up and do it. And it's and I've, like I said, I've been drawn to that, and I really appreciate everything that everyone has done in the military. And it's hard. I moved here when I was 18, so I've grown. I have huge respect for all military, but the US stuff is stuff I follow a lot of. I read some books, and I'm just like into it. Like I said, it's something that I have enjoyed. And a few people that would talk a little bit about your career, it's like I've talked to a few people. I was like, oh yeah, I know this guy, Jody Lynch, and they're like, oh, if you're ever in a room with that guy, you have to like kiss the ground he walked on. And it's tell us a little bit more, if you can, about the position you're in towards the end. And I mean, like I said, yeah. I'm a fan, so I'm an interviewer, yeah. But I'm asking the question.
Well, I appreciate it, because I get kind of nervous here, just being, like just in your presence, because and again, I'll do that, but I'll say this. I think the one thing about the dirt bike community and the racing community and the military, you know, there's connections throughout the history. I mean, you can do it all the way back to World War II and the desert racing and everything else. There's huge history, but I think that there's some natural connections, and I think it is that drive. It's that ability. Like, this is I don't need to tell people that ride a dirt bike, like, man, this is a really, really hard sport, and you got to be willing to get up again and again and again. And there's a lot of commonality in the traits that are in a human being that's willing to do that, and a human being that's willing to serve our nation and serve our nation at the highest levels in terms of operational capability. There is a drive that you have to have and a prioritization that you have to have that at times can be mistaken. It can be mistaken that it means more to you than family itself. That's not the case, but that's the commitment it takes, and balancing all of that is really, really tough. So I think I've always had a natural connection or bond just watching the pros, watching the setup, watching the attention to detail. Every little thing matters. Like, all of that makes sense. But for me personally, you know, I started as an infantry officer, and loved every minute of it. In 2004, as a young captain, I had an opportunity to go to Afghanistan and serve, and I got put on the craziest team. It was a team with 2 other Marines, and we trained Afghans, soldiers who would become the first Afghan commandos, 3rd Commando Kandak. And so we're training them as Marines, but then we got attached to a special forces team, and we got to work with them for like 6-7 months, and I just loved every minute of it. It was wild. It was just an incredible opportunity at such a young age, and here you are leading combat operations with a foreign force. And be frank, man, you're hoping you can trust these guys, but you trust that you know how to train, and we trained them like we trained our Marines, and that's the way we did it. And I had a SF team that was just absolutely remarkable, and really embraced us as the 3 Marines to come be part of their team. And so it really, at that point, that was 2004. I came back from that. I'd taken orders to another command, and I couldn't get out of those orders, but MARSOC, Marine Special Operations Command, stood up actually on February 24th in 2006. And so I had to finish my orders of where I was. I didn't make it to MARSOC until 2008, but that was my goal. And that background and that ability to do that mission in Afghanistan early on is really what kind of allowed me to be recruited into MARSOC in 2008. And so I went to MARSOC in 2008 and had the opportunity to serve, starting in 3rd, at the time, Special Operations Battalion, that we didn't change the names to Raider Battalion. So 3rd Raider Battalion, on a basically what I call a skeleton company, and then did a deployment to West Africa. Came back from that, and that's when I moved to 2nd Marine Raider Battalion, and was the operations officer deployed to Afghanistan for a year with the Special Operations Task Force. Came back from that deployment. What did I do after that deployment? Oh, I moved up. At that time, I got selected to be a lieutenant colonel. So once I got selected for lieutenant colonel, and I got selected to command one of our special operations battalions. So 1st Raider Battalion on the West Coast. So took command of 1st Raider Battalion 2013 to 15, deployed back to Afghanistan and ran Special Operations Task Force West, which was all of Helmand Province and then all of Western Afghanistan up through Herat, Farah, and Baghdad provinces. Came back from that deployment. Had to pay my penance for a wonderful command time, and I went to the Pentagon and worked a couple years in the Pentagon for the Deputy Director at Special Operations Counterterrorism Division. And then I was selected for colonel, and then got selected to run the Raider Regiment as an 06 colonel. Ran the Raider Regiment for 2 years, 2018 to 2020. In 2020, deployed to Iraq as the Combined Joint Special Operations Task Force for Iraq and Syria. So I ran the Special Operations Organization in Iraq and Syria, or a portion of that, not the full. There's other task force out there, but a portion of the Special Operations Task Force in Iraq and Syria into 21. Returned from that, became the deputy commander for MARSOC, which is a 2-star command. I was the deputy commander for MARSOC and until my retirement. I retired in 2022.
Hell of a career. I mean, like I said, I'm just a fan, so it's like that's something that I'm sure there could be a book written about that, and it'd sell like. It'd
definitely be a book written about all the guys that are in that formation, and that's, it's incredible.
So I have another question that'll then lead into our the question question while we're here. It's like I've also read stories about, not stories, just I guess news articles, whatever, of military personnel struggling once they get out of the military to get into civilian life, and I've read and seen a bunch of first-hand stories here at the GNCC that the motorcycle racing has helped them move into that and find a purpose. And I've also heard some stuff that there's a similar we run into a similar problem when you retire as a professional athlete, not necessarily dirt bikes, but maybe any professional sport, and you lose that. Lose the I don't know if it's the adrenaline fix that you're chasing when you're active or when you're still racing, but I feel like there's a connection there, like we said as well. And do you think that the motorcycle racing helps with the guys that are getting out? Do you think it helps them kind of chase that feeling that they're after when they get out, if they feel lost?
If you run into me and you ask me like what kind of scope you should put on your AR, like I'm not the guy to ask that. Like that's like I just use what they gave me and trained me to use. That's not literally like a passion, but what is a passion to me is more of the leadership and what it takes to run these types of organizations and organizations of high performing people. And I think where special operations comes into mix, and where I think there's also a lot of connections with professionals in general, is you're at the top of the game. And I think it's the team, and it's the running of the team, and it's being part of a team. And even if you're you're obviously, Josh Strang is racing the dirt bike. There's nobody that can help you on that course, per se. You got to squeeze the throttle, you got to twist the throttle, it's you. But behind you is an entire team that dedicates themselves to get you ready and put you in position to be the best version of Josh Strang on that race course. I would argue that is a lot as professional athletes have to move on from their professional careers. And I've talked to Koscheck about this a ton, being a professional fighter. Like, the dedication is number one, or what it takes to be the best. You have this structure, right? And you got this detailed structure that just dictates your day, dictates if you want to be great, you know what you need to do, and you have to dedicate yourself to that. And then you've got this team. And it's all of those things that I think are the commonality. And then I'll speak, I'm not a professional athlete. In fact, I'll probably be one of the top 100 slowest riders tomorrow on the course. But in terms of like when guys step away, I think it is the loss of structure plays a key role. The purpose, right, that goes to that structure. Why'd you put all that structure? Why'd you put all that time into something? You did it for a purpose. But then the third one, what we talked about, is the team. And when you leave that and you leave those things, it leaves a big void regardless. And that's not to take away from, I have a wonderful wife, a wonderful family, supports me in everything I do. Shelly is absolutely amazing. I wouldn't be here today if she didn't support this and support me. But there are things that we are wired in a way that this is who we are, and we have to be in our element to be the best version of ourselves as husbands, as fathers, as everything. You got to be the best version of yourself, and this enables it. So a lot of it is trying to get guys to realize, and I like the dirt bike, I like the physicality of dirt biking, mountain biking, those types of things. But at the end of the day, I challenge any vet. Do whatever your heart tells you to do, but do something that makes you be a professional, makes you study your trade, makes you have structure. I don't care if you want to be a professional cook, right? And be the best barbecue or whatever, it doesn't matter. Get something that drives you, get something that takes a team behind you, your family. My family supported me. I've been married for 22 years now, and Shelly went through all of those combat deployments with me. Couldn't have done it without her. And now here I am out here doing this. She's back in North Carolina with my oldest daughter, my youngest daughter. And here I am out here doing this race, right? You can't do it without your family. So family is one. But two is like, we need that. We need that companionship. We need that friendship. We need that teammanship. We need to work on dirt bikes together. We need to ride the track together and talk about hotlines and all this kind of stuff, because that's just the way we're wired. And I think we share a lot of that in common. And you have to find that way, So at 53 years old, here I am. I'm absolutely doing it to fill a void. In terms of me personally, what do I get out of dirt biking? It's that desire to be better at something. It's a sport you can't master. You know, you can get better. Sure, you can get worse, but you get better every day, and every time you put time into it, you can get better at it. And it's just it's an amazing challenge that actually does bring structure into my life as well. I think that's a key part.
Yeah. All right. Well, so then that leads us into the why we're here question.
Yeah.
Why are we here? You've come up with a really cool idea. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So this is the main reason, and you know, everything I just said is factual in terms of who I am and what I personally get out of competing. But this is really about, you know, this is about taking care of the generations of Marines, sailors, airmen, everybody, every service member that served over the last 2 decades, and put everything on the line for our country. And as we know, many cases, in our case of MARSOC, you know, 48 perished lives in combat or a high-risk training for combat. And this is about continuing to tell their story. And so, you know, back, I don't know, I think around 2013, 14, Raider Foundation is one. I'll talk about 2 foundations. The Raider Foundation is a foundation that has supported our Gold Star family members since the beginning of MARSOC. And I've watched them in action. I've watched them close gaps that, this is nothing against DOD. DOD does a great job of taking care of our families, but there are gaps. And I watch the foundation close the gaps and invest in technology for guys that may have been amputees, new technology, new things to get them back to a quality of life. Watching them actually redeploy again with prosthetics, just amazing investment in dollars and just investing in our Marines. And I've watched them do this. And so early on, they created a program called Miles for MARSOC, and you could go out and you could just raise money for the foundation. And I did that for years, and I did it through, you know, a lot of ultra running and mountain biking, and then I got into dirt bike racing. And I didn't really ever tie it to dirt bike racing, but I tied it to, I do some off-road racing out in the West as well on side-by-sides and things of that nature. So I tied a big fundraiser to that, and it went really well. Last year, I decided to run the Mint 400 solo on a dirt bike, and I did it in honor of Matt Manukian, Captain Matt Manukian, who I was very close with, who we lost in 2012. But what struck me in that is I started thinking about it, and again, this is not, this is just, there's nothing wrong with this. This is just the reality. You know, when this nation's at war and it's in the news cycle, Americans are behind us 100%, and we know that. And when you're raising funds or awareness and you're doing things for a foundation and the heat of the moment, it's, I won't say it's easy, but it's not that difficult because people are alert and aware and understand. But as that fades and it fades out of the news cycle, I mean, we are still at combat. We are still at war. There are Marine Raiders deployed right now in combatant situations. I assure you of that. And SF is the same way. The Special Forces, the Army, and SEALs, and everybody else. It's there. But it is obviously not at the scale that it was over the last 2 decades. So it actually becomes harder to draw attention. But where it really connected with me is I've had the opportunity in the positions that I've held to really meet a lot of the families and the Gold Star families and the wives. And talking to them, I realized that I think it's my generation of veterans that served our nation for the last 2 decades in high combat situations. I think it's our obligation to continue to tell their story and to continue to make sure that they're never going to be forgotten in a close knit, but we need to celebrate their lives. We need to, these, in my case, I know there's great women that but in my case is associated with men, but these men that we've lost that I've been very close with, they're the best this country has to offer. They're incredible. If they could sit here today, they would do the same thing for us. And that's what really drew me, is they would find ways to tell the stories, to tell, to keep the families in the loop and know that, man, we really care. And it was never for nothing, it was for us, you know, and that's kind of my thing. I always think about US, for us, right? It was for the United States, but it was for us. We dedicated everything to each other, And so that's what it was about. And so now it becomes a challenge. And then again, like, listen, for 2 decades, we've put young Americans in some really high pressure situations at 18 to 19 to 20, 21 years old, and have faced some things that nobody should face that are scarring forever. And all of those men and women are now, in their late 30s, early 40s, and in my case, in their 50s, and they're still trying. They're still working through that, man. Like that never goes away. And so I think the cause became more about we have a story to tell, and the story needs to be told. It needs to be told that some of the greatest Americans gave everything for this country for 2 decades, and we have an obligation as veterans that were fortunate to still be here today to tell their story. And that's what it became about. And at the Mint, when I did the solo ride last year at the Mint, I did that for Matt Manucci, and I realized, like, his family, I'm very close with his family, and his family was very, very appreciative of the effort. But it also expanded into his circle of friends that I've never met, guys that he went to high school with, played football with, played lacrosse with, and they all got behind it. And it was because we linked it to Matt and we told Matt's story. And so that led me to this year. I love GNCC. I live on the East Coast. And so I was like, man, I could do this for 10 races and represent 10 different Raiders at every race. And one is in Ferris as a sailor, but I mean, they're all Raiders. So we lost Corman, Luke Milam, we'll get to him. But bottom line is to tell their stories. And that's when I shared with you, we talked about this a couple years ago about how do we do stuff for vets. This is what started this. Tyler reached out and said, let me know what I can do to help. So here we are. And I think, this isn't about me. I look forward to the podcast where we talk about the guys and the opportunity that we're going to be able to do that here in the near future and talk about the guys we're racing for and tell their stories, I think is just critical. And I think every single one of those guys would not many places I'd rather be besides combat or at a race like this around these types of Americans, man. Like this is red, white, and blue, and that's why I think it's the right venue, it's the right place, and let's go out and tell their story and race in honor of them. And the last thing about that is the way I set this fundraiser up is I want vets to feel like they can get involved. I know there's a lot of vets that out there and race and are police, firemen, first responders. If you want to get involved in this, we'll put the contact information out. Contact me. I built this fundraiser that anybody can join it, and anybody can race it for any foundation that they want to. Or don't even race for a foundation. Race for a friend that you lost in combat, or somebody, or a family, or a Gold Star family. But this is built that hopefully we can grassroot it. It doesn't need to ever be anything super formal or crazy, but if we can get vets out there and just throw a jersey on with a fallen with a fallen comrade's name on the back and race for them and take the time to call their parents or their widow and just share a story, it goes a far way, man. I think we can do that.
Yeah, well, we appreciate everyone's service, yours as well, and I think the idea that you've come up with is great. Maybe I can figure it out, and I can throw a couple of, like, I can ride for some of these guys as well down the road.
Absolutely.
I'd love to do that. But tell us more. Just tell us more about the foundations that you're racing for, and then what this. Yeah. You've called it what you've called it.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so Racing for Legends is just an overall title I just came up with because that's the intent. It's to raise awareness for our warriors as we discussed. But there are 2 foundations that are near and dear to my heart on my experiences and watching them in action. And the first one is the Marine Raider Foundation, which I talked a little bit about. But that foundation exists solely for the support to our Gold Star families and continuing to support them, the children of our fallen Marine Raiders and sailors. So just coordinating and organizing. I've gotten an opportunity to meet some of these young kids that are growing up into young adults now that are now 17, 18 years old, and just amazing. And so the foundation supports them. They support a lot of our wounded Raider vets, both physically and mentally. To continue to give them the best opportunities in life and support them as they continue on their goals and their journey to be the best version of themselves. So That's the Raider Foundation and why that means so much to me. The second one is, and it alludes back to a question you asked me very early on, is a foundation called Warfighter Made. And Warfighter Made is an incredible foundation founded by Rob Blanton on the West Coast. Rob's a retired reconnaissance Marine, retired Master Sergeant, incredible human being that I've gotten to know over the years. And he started the Warfighter Made for what we talked about. Like, hey, these guys are getting out. There's a lot of mental struggle. There's a lot of a lot of suicides going on. We got to get these guys back in team atmospheres, back working with one another, camaraderie. And so that's where the Warfighter Made Foundation came from. And that's about getting guys and using off-road to do it, and using side-by-sides and using dirt bikes. And I mean, I've watched them put guys that are above the knee amputees back on bikes, and we've got drivers out there that are racing in the pro class now that are double amputees, and just these incredible stories. And that's what the Warfighter Made Foundation is all about. So I mean, these are two. The other thing about these foundations is they're what I would call a 5-star foundation each, meaning that they operate on volunteer work, and over 95% of their raised money goes directly to the cause. There are no paid staff, there's no paid board members, there's no executives that are or anything like that. These are grassroots programs that I've watched personally make a huge impact on the lives of our vets. And the Warfighter Made Foundation is a joint organization. It's not specifically for Marines or Marine Raiders, or it is a joint organization and first responders. So two incredible organizations, and it's an honor to be out here for both of them.
That's awesome. I know we talked about Warfighter Made there for a while, and I mean, it's good to see you finally put this little program together, and it's cool to see. Be exciting to see what you can do. All right, well, this, like I said, we're here end of February, round 2 of the GNCC in Florida. I think you skipped out on Big Buck.
Yeah.
We won't tell any hardcore Marines that story, but you skipped out on Big Buck. I don't blame you. But here we are, sunny Florida, round 2. Who are you riding for this weekend? Or who are you racing for this week?
I appreciate that. I'm going to say one comment before I get there. It's easy to be hard. It's hard to be smart. I got 10 rounds to do, and I got one dirt bike. No, I appreciate it. I took one look at that course. I said, you know what? We're going to start next week. Yeah. But no, this week is a Marine that I get to race for this week. It's an absolute honor and a privilege to race for Master Sergeant Aaron Toran. And Master Sergeant Aaron Toran and I spent quite a few years together at 2nd Marine Raider Battalion, where he was a young operator and I was operations officer. And in fairness, I didn't know him, as a guy where we went out and drank beers on a Friday night. But I knew him as a young professional. I knew his background. I knew the fact that this was a young Marine. Grew up in Kentucky. Had already gotten a degree from university, I think Tennessee Tech, if I'm not mistaken, but got his degree from Tennessee Tech, and was just this brilliant-minded young staff sergeant and gunnery sergeant. That's where you watch the magic. You watch these young guys. I say young guys. They're in their late 20s at this time, early 30s, and they can just solve any problem. And they're just like, and the heart rate is never like above like 120, right? Like you watch them in the most intense situations, and it's just like calmness on the radio, calmness on the voice. Like you just realize, man, these guys they're a different breed. They're a percent that there's not even a 1%. It's a 1/10 of a 1%. They're incredible. And so anyway, fast forward a little bit, 2015, when I had command of the Marine Raider, 2014. In 2014, I had command of the Special Operations Task Force in Helmand in Western Afghanistan, and Aaron was running one of our Special Operations team up near a place called Sangin, Helmand, and a forward operating base, Robinson. And he was doing some very complex operations. At that point in the war in 2014, a lot of people forget this, but we were supposed to go to zero by by 31 December of 2014. We were supposed to have a 0 footprint. And so we were conducting a lot of like intense special operations at that time, more as a screening force as some of the bigger conventional forces were drawing back and drawing down in size. So really kind of out there alone and unafraid. And I had flown out. This was on February 14th, 2014. I flew out to Fob Robinson to link up with Master Sergeant Toran because he had a plan that he wanted to execute. And so I sat on a picnic table with him, with some really crappy coffee and with a map laid out, and we talked for 2 hours about what he wanted to accomplish over the next 30 days and how he wanted to do it. And I gave him, I said, man, it's a brilliant plan, and let me know what you need, and let's go get it. And so at that point, later that afternoon, Hilo came in to pick me up to take me back to my main operating base. And then the next day, conducting operations, we got call comes in that troops in contact. They call it a tick, troops in contact. So we knew we had troops in contact, and they called in a medevac. So medevac comes, they call it a 9-line brief. So they're going to 9-line in, which means it's going to give you the details of what they're working with on the ground, and that sets kind of the stage. Over the years in combat, our medical force has just been absolutely incredible. I mean, we got this thing down called the golden hour, and knowing that we trained our troops and we trained our guys so well in trauma and dealing with really bad battlefield injuries on the spot, that if we could stop the bleeding, we had an hour. If we could get them to the main hospital in an hour, the chances of survival, I'm not going to make a quote because I don't know, it won't be accurate, but I will just tell you it's tenfold on that person's ability to survive. And so when that call came in, it's my command center that's running it, and they're taking the call, and it's kind of it's really it's this calm intensity. I'm going to use that word a couple times in this story, but it's this kind of this calm intensity of just, it's quiet as can be as data goes back and forth and information is exchanged between the command center, the troops on the ground, and then of course we're coordinating the medevac, getting the helicopter spun up and getting the helicopter to them, and then coordinating that with additional air support and getting them everything they need to handle the situation. But I'll never forget, and as a commander, you work through this numerous times. But I had like I said, I'm not going to tell you I was a Friday night drinking buddy with Aaron Toran, because I wasn't, and that would not be true. But I had a special leadership relationship with Aaron, and he's somebody I confided in with as truly a leader, and somebody that I really listened to his sage advice all the time, even before that time. Many run-ins with him through training. And it weighed heavy, and so we operate. You have your identification sheet is basically the first 2 letters of your last name followed by the last 4 digits of your social security number. So for example, mine would be LY2747. And so when you're talking about an operator over the radio, you're referring to them through those numeric codes. And so, when that call came in and they called the 9-line in, and they identified it, and it said, Tango Oscar, TO, I knew right there it was Aaron. And he had, some of his Afghan forces had gotten into a firefight, and he jumped out of his vehicle to start coordinating them and leading them through an assault, and stepped on a pressure plate IED that was hidden in the gravel, and catastrophically. And so to his team, they did an incredible effort to stop the bleeding and give him a chance to fight in that golden hour. We got him back to the hospital. I drove, at that point, I was able to drive over the large hospitals on the main base I was on, Camp Leatherneck and Bastion. And I was able to drive over with my surgeon. And we went into the hospital, and my surgeon, she got me the report, coming out. Yeah, he's in surgery. And, she's just prepared me for what was coming. And, but I think one of the to say the coolest things that's not the right term to use in this situation, but obviously it's meant the world to me. As at the time we were working, the commander of that battle space was a 1-star general from the Marine Corps by the name of Dan Yu, Brigadier General Dan Yu, and Dan Yu showed up at the hospital and met me there. And he told me, hey, I know you probably don't think anything right now, but if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. I said, yes, sir. And about 2 minutes later, he had walked away, and about 2-3 minutes later, he came back. He said, come with me. And he brought me into the the surgery, like where they're doing the surgery on Aaron. And I talked about calm intensity. Watching those surgeons work was insane. It was incredible. Like, it was so quiet. It was so efficient. It was just amazing. And I had an opportunity to be with Aaron through his last minutes as they worked calmly, methodically, and under a very, very hard time constraint to try to stop the internal and external bleeding that Aaron was under. And unfortunately, not able to do so. But it was just such an honor to be there with him, and to be able to tell that story, because the story is the fight, and that's the thing. Like the fight that man had. Like, this isn't the place to talk about the details of the injuries, but I'm just telling you, the fight to stay alive, the fight to get back home to his wife, the fight to get back home to his kid. Like, you can feel it, you can sense it when you're in that situation, and he gave everything to his body, just couldn't do it anymore. Everything to this country, and so, for Aaron, again, I don't, on the light side, what I want to talk about Aaron is, and again, I wish I could say I was the guy with him on Friday night, because he is the guy that would get rowdy and have a great time. But he's the guy, like, I'll get you a pic, but he's 6'2", 210 pounds, built like just a machine, and just, could clear a bar room, but at the same point have a conversation with the president about the nuclear triad. Like, where do you find these guys? And like, that's just who he was. And he was so well read. He probably read more books before he was 12 years old than I've read my entire life. He could quote them all, remembered them all. Like, he was just brilliant. And he did multiple deployments, Iraq, Afghanistan, and just moved to the sound of the guns, man. And that's the beauty behind all these guys, is it's like, who would do this? I will. Speaking for Aaron, I will every single time. Like, let's go. And his team was incredible. And to watch his team operate after the loss of Aaron on February 15th in 2014, we still had 6 months to go on that deployment. And to watch his team operate in his honor with the level of professionalism they did was absolutely extraordinary. To everybody stepping up to the changes the company made. Company leadership had to make some hard calls and put it, because you don't replace Aaron by just by putting somebody in place. It's got to be the right person. It's got to be the right mindset, because Aaron was that big. He was that, like, Aaron was a guy that I've seen different teams run. I've seen special operations teams run. They're teams that get buy-in from everybody. Like, no. Aaron, it was Aaron's way. Everybody on the team went on to have successful careers in MARSOC because Aaron taught them, mentored them, and got them to do things the right way. The attention to detail, the right way, everything done so that in the worst scenarios, you were best prepared. And that team's legacy continues on today. Team 8231 continues on today. And the leadership that was touched by Aaron, there's guys that are still on active duty, young guys that were only sergeants at the time. They're leaders now. They're master sergeants. They're gunnery sergeants, master sergeants now. They carry on the legacy. And so he lives on forever in those operators. And yeah, man, like, let's just get out there and tell his story. He was a great American.
Well, thank you isn't enough, like, to Aaron and his family, and that's crazy. And a motorcycle race isn't enough. But what you're doing here is, like, it's a perfect way to remember him by, It's,
Aaron would be at the hill at Big Buck, I guarantee you, with no shirt on,
eating crayons,
probably some jorts, and yelling and hollering, and every bike that got stuck, probably physically lifting it out of the mud pit himself and pushing the guy on.
Yeah,
that's it.
Man, like I said, that's hell of a first race, and hell of a first person to be racing for, It's dude, it's crazy.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate the hell out of you guys, and it's man, I guess that's the end of the interview. You can't you can't do much more than that.
Let's go around and celebrate his life, man. That's
that's cool. Yeah, we have no excuse, right?
No, we don't. And you know what? Listen, man, I'll drop my bike probably 10 times on the course tomorrow. Just pick it up and keep moving. pick it up. And the one thing I will say to all the riders out there that are going to rev bomb me all day tomorrow, trust me, I'm trying to get out of your way as fast as I can. I don't want to hurt you, and I don't want to hurt myself. So just be patient. Have fun.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Josh.
All right, so there you have it. That was Josh Strang and Colonel Jody Lynch. I'm an honor to be a part of that. That was a long interview. Like I said, we had to get through him so you know who he is as a person, so it kind of adds validity to everything that he's doing there. But like I said, absolutely great guy, great group of guys, and a great cause that he is racing for. So I'm happy that we can get him involved with the show. And, yeah, catch him out at the racetrack. He'll be at Talladega this weekend racing for another fallen Marine brother. And we'll have him on the show next week to kind of talk about who he was racing for this past weekend. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the OTP family. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you in just a few days to talk about the brand new Talladega Super Speedway thing that we got going on. You know what I mean? So, brand new racetrack this weekend. We look forward to being there and bringing you the coverage of it. We'll see you next time. Be a friend, tell a friend, let them know about OTP.